The Russian Federation absolutely doesn't respect the fundamental rights of people, attack key infrastructure, civilian facilities, and tries to intimidate Ukrainian citizens and undermine the sovereignty of the state. This is in line with terrorist methods. Barbara Urbanova, member of the Czech parliament, author of the text of the resolution recognizing Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, from a statement and a meeting of parliament.
The resolution of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, which was ratified by the Czech Republic, also indicated assistance to Kyiv in strengthening the air defense system and participation in the creation of an international tribunal for Russian war criminals. The organization of the tribunal and the announcement of Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism was also supported at the Conference of Parliamentary Committees on European Issues of the EU countries, SOSAC, where Ukraine was invited for the first time.
COSAC is appalled by and strongly condemns Russia's missile and kamikaze drone attacks on Ukraine, targeting civilian and energy infrastructure and educational institutions, destroying homes and killing civilians. COSAC states that these acts are crimes against humanity and therefore calls on national parliaments to recognize current Russian regime as a terrorist one. From the final document of the 68th COSAC conference.
There is no official definition of a state sponsor of terrorism in European law, but the PACE resolution contains additional legal recommendations, for example, the introduction of new sanctions. They can be accepted by individual states, and the EU will be able to introduce some restrictions at the all-Union level. To do this, the European Parliament also has to recognize the Kremlin regime as a terrorist one. The largest party in parliament said it would vote in favor of such a decision.
We are letting one of the headmaster of the terrorist state participate as an equal in the discussion of the future of the world. This is what it means to allow Lavrov to sit at the same table with the rest of the G20 leaders. This is unacceptable. We should never negotiate with terrorists. The European Parliament is outspoken on this, and we will vote in favor of the resolution during plenary next week to grade the Russian Federation as a terrorist state. Rasa Yuknevichina, member of the European Parliament, vice president of the European People's Party for Foreign Affairs, from a statement of the European People's Party website.
If the EU recognizes Putin's regime as a terrorist one, this will be an important prerequisite for the United States and Canada to do the same, analysts say. According to the legislation of these countries, trade with a sponsoring state of terrorism is almost completely stopped, and total export controls are introduced. In addition, the introduction of secondary sanctions against countries that continue to cooperate with the terrorist regime is greatly simplified. Kyiv has long been urging Washington to recognize Russia as a sponsor of terrorism, and President Volodymyr Zelensky called the recent incident in the Polish Przewodów a continuation of Russian terror.
We were talking about it. Terror is not limited to our state borders. It has already spread to the territory of Moldova. Russian missiles hit Poland, the territory of our friendly country. People died. Please accept condolences from all Ukrainian brothers. How many times has Ukraine said that a terrorist state will not limit itself to our country?
The heads of the NATO countries said that regardless of the place where the missiles were launched, the tragedy in Przewodów was a result of a massive Russian rocket attack on Ukraine. All responsibility for its consequences lies with the Kremlin. The head of Ukrainian diplomacy, Dmytro Kuleba, said he had discussed Moscow's missile terror with the US Secretary of State.
Detailed call with Antony Blinken on Russian missile terror, its scale, aims, consequences. I stressed the response to what happened in Poland must be stiff and principled. Grateful for affirming the US will double down on recovering our energy system together with G7 and the EU. Dmytro Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on Twitter.
From the very beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Office of the President of Ukraine have been insisting on international recognition of the Kremlin regime as a terrorist one. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.